Excellent choice, Mr. Chair. Thank you very much for allowing me this opportunity to contribute to this debate. Mr. Chair, Te Puni Kōkiri sadly do not know whether or not they are Arthur or Martha. Once upon a time, the direction and the leadership for Te Puni Kōkiri was very clear. They knew what their job was. Their job was to grow a sustainable Māori economy. Today, Te Puni Kōkiri is being asked to be a social service arm. They're being asked to become te reo Māori assessors. They're being asked also to continue their work in the economic space. And I take the words of the member and the chair of this Māori Affairs Select Committee, who would like to see more of that take place at Te Puni Kōkiri. But sadly, that's not going to happen under the current leadership. That's not going to happen when you are forcing an excellent performing, traditionally excellent performing ministry in Te Puni Kōkiri to do so many other things. They don't know, sir, whether or not they are Arthur or Martha. The Te Reo Māori bill has just come in. The member has spoken about Te Taurāwhiri I Te Reo Māori, some of the problems that were faced by Te Taurāwhiri around staffing. And of course, we know that the chief executive position was vacant for some time. However, they got a chief executive, and I do understand they are back to a full complement of staff. But Mr. Speaker, this means nothing when their budget has been slashed to create a new entity in Te Mātāwai. Now, while I'm all for progressing and revitalising Te Reo Māori, I'm a huge Te Reo Māori champion. I do not believe, however, Mr. Chair, that Te Reo Māori is going to reach the pinnacles that we hope it will. Why I say that is because there is a lack of leadership on this matter. We've talked about a Corona Maihi strategy or Crown strategy and a Te Reo Māori strategy. Well, the legislation doesn't give the strategy. They're yet to work the strategy out. They're prepared to give it 3 years, Mr. Chair, 3 years to see whether or not it'll come up with a strategy. Whether or not the speakers of Te Reo Māori, the numbers will lift or continue to decrease as trends have shown. Our research has shown that in that 3 years, the number of conversational Māori speakers will drop by 1%, falling it to a very critical level of just under 20%. And we know that in order for Te Reo Māori to grow and to thrive, you need a critical mass speaking Te Reo Māori. And experts in the field tell us that that critical mass must be at 35%. So then, under this minister and this government, why didn't we have that aspiration play out in the setup of Te Mātāwai, in the debate of the bill, where we want to see Te Reo Māori speakers in this country grow to a number of 35%. I'm afraid there's a lack of leadership on that matter. Mr. Chair, back to Te Puni Kōkiri. I think they're doing a great job. They, just like Te Taurāwhiri I Te Reo Māori, have had issues around staffing. And it's not just any old staff member. They have had vacancies in the leadership group of Te Puni Kōkiri in key positions to lead and drive Te Puni Kōkiri. The ministry they told the select committee that they'll work hard to fill those, and I understand that they've made some progress there. But Mr. Chair, if they have made progress there, then why is it that in the past financial year, Te Puni Kōkiri has spent $8 million on consultants? $8 million on consultants to carry out the work of Te Puni Kōkiri, instead of focusing on filling those key leadership roles, to provide leadership from this government and the minister to Te Puni Kōkiri to allow them to do their job correctly. All of this, $8 million, Mr. Chair, $8 million to consultants. We've raised this issue several times since the last election about the excess being spent on consultants. And what are they giving? What are they providing? Well, we'd argue on this side of the House, Mr. Chair, that what they're actually providing in many instances is flawed advice. And I say that, Mr. Chair, with respect to Te Ture Whenua Māori. And I want to mention Te Ture Whenua Māori here Mr. Chair?
Mr.
Chair. Tēnā koe, Mr. Chair. Thank you very much. I want to mention Te Ture Whenua Māori because all of the advice given to the Minister has just allowed him to fool himself into thinking he can bulldoze this piece of legislation through the House. He can force it on to the people, despite the people being very clear, Mr. Chair, to this Minister and to this government that what they are proposing is wrong. That what they are proposing is actually going to alienate further Māori land. And that's not acceptable. Mr. Chair, I'm on a trust that administers a large amount of Māori land. And we have looked through the bill that's to be proposed by the Minister, and we too have very strong concerns about the intention of the bill. Why don't we listen to the experts? Why don't we listen to those who actually work with the bill every day? People like the Māori Land Court, people like the judges in the Māori Land Court, people like the lawyers who have forged careers in this space. Why don't we listen to them? Well, I can tell you, Mr. Chair, this Minister and this government aren't listening to them. Instead, what they've gone and done is they've said, let's have hui across the country. Let's just go through a box-ticking exercise. We'll engage with the Māori people on Te Ture Whenua Māori, but I tell you what, let's meet at the Langham Hotel. Now, that must be the flashiest marae I've ever seen. The Langham Hotel, sir. And I know another place where we can meet. Let's meet in a bunker at an airport in the hope that we can have meaningful consultation with the Māori people around Te Ture Whenua Māori. And once that's all done, sir, and we've ticked all the boxes, we are now going to say that the Māori people agree? Mr. Chair, I beg to differ. That's not the view of our people with regard to Te Ture Whenua Māori. Sure, they want to be able to feel empowered to make decisions for themselves. Sure, they want to be able to manage their land to make sure that they receive benefits from it. But sir, it only works if you go through a solid process that will create a foundation for that to happen, create a foundation to empower our people, empower the Māori people, to make meaningful contributions to the economy, to seek self-determining means by way of building their own value and their own assets. But Mr. Chair, what this has actually, what the exercise of the Ture Whenua Māori has actually proven to this side of the House, and of course to the rest of the country, is this government's overall failure to make sure that you go through due process. Now, Mr. Chair, we've sat in this House many times now, explaining to many iwi who come here to settle their treaty grievances, and we look them in the eye and we say to them, kia kaha. This is full, this is fair, and this is final. Yet what we're seeing is, now all of a sudden there's a flip-flop from this government. Oh heck, actually we may have rushed this through. Maybe we didn't quite get it right the first time. So let's revisit it. What have we seen? Right of first refusal on homes and on land in Tāmaki Makaurau. That's a classic example. What else have we seen? Te Ohu Kaimoana going to court over the Kermadec Sanctuary. This after the fisheries settlement in 1992 that said it was full, fair and final. Now all of a sudden, because of the decisions made by this government, Māori are feeling like victims again. Their rights are being taken away from them. Their ability to voice their concerns is being silenced. And what this points to, Mr. Chair, is this government's failure to lead properly and to lead correctly on true Māori development. What exactly does that mean? To allow Te Puni Kōkiri to do what they're supposed to do. Also, in conclusion, Mr. Chair, I want to just mention briefly whānau ora. We all agree with whānau ora. We want whānau ora to work. Recently, we've heard of that tragic case about that young Māori boy called Moko, who passed away through tragic circumstances, through people not caring for our most vulnerable. We want whānau ora to get into these houses, to get into these communities, to make sure that those people, the most vulnerable in our country, are protected, that those who need the help get the help that they need. However, Mr. Chair, I don't believe this is happening under whānau ora. I don't believe that this government is showing true leadership on whānau ora to make sure that those people, like young moko and the families who are dealing with a lot of our most vulnerable
Chair.
get the service and get the help that they require, Mr. Chair.
Chair.
The